But we feel that since there are already mechanisms in place that govern EPR at those jurisdictions, it would be very easy or practical to probably use a franchise system. So if Courts or Muslim or any other retailers we have is selling a particular product, it will mean that it will be franchised. So all those policies will follow. So it will help us on the back end to manage that waste, right? And part 3, financing, capacity building, technical assistance, and knowledge transfer. Those are very critical elements. Small island states like ours, we don't have endless resources. So to implement, we need a financial mechanism that is commensurate that will allow us for that just transition. And national action plans, that is where a lot of you, the stakeholders, will be involved and engaged in terms of crafting a roadmap to deal with plastic pollution in Dominica. Part 5 deals with institutional arrangement. You will have a governing body, you will have subsidiary bodies to look at different scientific elements, the secretariat, and part 6, further provision, and then the appendix. And that will basically govern all the elements of the treaty, basically. Next slide. So, present, we've had 1, 2, 3 INC process. That is basically a body that was set up by the Secretariat to review the text that will form the treaty. INC 4 will be, you can go to the next slide. INC 4 will be held in Canada, and the intention is to formally agree on a revised zero draft as the working document for us to begin to negotiate. I didn't put that in because this morning I was trying to put it together, so I didn't have time to put it in, but I know everything in the back of my head. Then INC 5 will be in South Korea. We're hoping that we do not have an INC 6. We're hoping by January of 2025 that we will be able to finalize the document and member states should be able to sign and ratify the ILBI document. So, next slide. So I wanted to leave this, what this means for Dominica, as a blank slide and ask the audience to answer or suggestions. But, so it means that if we have a treaty to govern plastic, it's going to have implications for us. So I just sum it up into 4 areas. That's just my 4 areas. It doesn't mean that it's your 4 areas, but those are areas that we like to think. So we need to rethink and not go business as usual where plastic and importation is concerned. We need to rethink. It cannot be business as usual, right? Then we need to strategize. What are we going to do? Where are we going to start? You know, what needs to be done, right? The issue of innovation, you know, and that's something I've been having the discussion with my minister. Most of them we are innovation and technology, and we think of innovation and technology as a now thing. But innovation and technology existed as far back as we can think of. You know, and just a couple of days ago I was speaking to the minister. Have you ever considered how a boat is built? It might look primitive, but there are elements of innovation. Do you know you need to hit it to resize it? That is innovation. And that is a form of technology at the time that was used. So most times when we think of innovation and technology, they don't just go in the 21st century and think, well, because we're an industrialized nation, innovation is something of now. But there are elements from our indigenous culture that could be used to help propel innovation, right? Some of you all may not be as old as I am, but I used to enjoy going to the farm with my grandfather. And you use the leaf from the Tanya, and Kali from Kali, you know that? She's not that young, but not old, but you know. And you'd wrap it, and then pour water in that, and he'd give it to me and I'll drink. Or he would milk the cow, and I'll drink from it. We didn't have no cow. And again, this is innovation. And that product is a biodegradable product. It stays on the farm, decompose, no issue there with pollution. So when we think of rethinking and innovation, that's what we think of. And then to forge new partnership, and again, that's why we're here, because without partners, we cannot achieve any goal that we set out. And that is why we are so elated to have you here and to be present at this breakfast forum. And to all the schools and the organization, I want to say a special thank you. I know that's not my part to do that, but I just want to answer it here. Next slide. So that brought us to the recycling OECS. When we speak of forging new relationship, The Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation for a very long time recognized the need for waste separation, recycling, and through our limited capacity, we have been able to somehow chart the path once a week or once a fortnight collection every day of the week. I know Cara would say we have issues in that, but we have issues in the system. We are not saying that we do not have, but we are hoping that partners like yourself could help us improve all the issues that we have in the system. But let me boast for 1 second. Dominica is the only English-speaking territory that has a recycling system where we go every day when the truck is up to collect recycling Mondays to Fridays. So I put my disclaimer in there as well. So, yeah. I mean, generally we criticize sometimes when things are not going well, but when things are important or things are good, we need to commend the people. I mean, there's room for improvement. And as a result of those activities that we have, Ms. Small, Jacob Small from the Waste Recycle Project, who's here, Public Relations, and because of the work that we did in the past. That is why Dominica last year we launched the Waste Recycle Project, and that Dominica and Grenada was used as a model project for the collection sorting of plastic within our member states. So it is already showing our activities is already aligning with the treaty, even if the treaty is not formalized yet. And that is what we have put in before any resolution, because as small island developing states, we depend on the sea and we depend on our fish. And if we don't have that, we're in problem. So, next slide please. So, basically, the plastic, waste recycled plastic basically will focus basically on plastic collection, sorting, trading, and recycling. So that is basically the concept of the demonstrative project, is to have 2 countries, Dominica and Grenada, partner under the program, set up systems that will allow us to collect at the residential level or at your institutions or from your homes and sort that material. And as part of the project, we'll be getting support with technology, we'll be getting support with some of the equipment that we need to process and sort the material, and then you could process and sort and not trade. And that's one a critical element of the project is the exportation of the material. But having dealt with plastic, there are external shocks or trade. In any commodity, there are external shocks sometimes that you don't factor. So for example, when COVID came, you could not trade too much on certain commodities. And when you consider sometimes the cost for shipping, you could have a particular product, but the cost is expensive, and it might not be viable to export. So you say, okay, so since we have similar issues in our jurisdiction, can we foster a system whereby we could pass on the material that we process to Grenada for further processing for a commodity? It would mean that within our Caribbean space, we could pass that material around and produce a commodity, not having that need to export to North America or the East. Because if there are bans or exemptions that you cannot trade, in some of our conventions, like the Basel Convention, there are some elements that you cannot trade certain chemicals or plastic that are dangerous, right? But through the treaty, there are elements that we need to explore, and for the project itself, with the twinning, it will allow us now to export our waste material, plastic, recycling material, to Grenada, that it will be further processed into a commodity. So it will not stay on our shores, because our brother or sister right next door, we pass it on to them, and they further process it as a commodity. So that is the aspect of the twinning of the project between Dominica and Grenada. That's just general. PET is basically 7 categories. I think we all should know that by now. But one is very, very troublesome. It's all over the place. All the water that you drink, and so on. So it's classified as 1. A lot of your detergent and stuff is 2. 7 is order. What we cannot understand or know system to treat, we just put it at 7. So the treaty would govern all those elements, right? And As part of our project, we are focusing 1 and 2, 3, 4 for now. And we are hoping to expand on the project. Right? Next slide. So the project itself, the OECS Recycle project, there are basically 5 pillars: technical, economical, financing mechanism, and then you need institutional regulatory. Even if you have policy or programs, you need legislation to support. Or else people are not going to abide because there's no legislation, there's no policy, so you're going to go business as usual. So all those elements are considered as part of the demonstrative project. Communication and social. So here we are. That's an element of the Recycle OECS project, where we need to be able to meet our clients, meet our stakeholders, communicate the intentions of our project, and they themselves could transcend that information to their various mediums and other affiliates. Next slide. You can just go next slide. I just wanted to show some of the areas of the technical pillar, but that is just more detailed. And I think that concludes my presentation here. Let me see next step. Next step. And then thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell, for this presentation. And definitely you are here because we need you. We cannot do it alone. So we hope by the end of today you'll understand exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish and help us to accomplish that mission. At this moment, we call on our permanent secretary in the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Kira Paul.
Thank you very much, Ms. St. John. Pleasant good morning to everyone. Let me recognize our Minister, Honorable Jose Frederick, Minister for Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment. I also want to recognize Mr. Mitchell, the Manager for Dominica Solid Waste Corporation, and all of you who are invited here. So I'm honored to address you, particularly the representatives of the private sector, at this important breakfast forum organized by the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation in collaboration with Recycle OECS. On behalf of the Minister with responsibility for urban development, who is also the Parliamentary Secretary, Representative of the Roseau Central Constituency, and who herself is a business enthusiast. I would like to shed light on the critical role that the private sector plays in nation building and the responsibility we all share in keeping our beautiful city, Roseau, clean and sustainable. Today's discussion is very important as we delve into the topic of diverting polymers from our waste streams, safeguarding our environment, and reducing marine pollution for a sustainable future. Let us reflect on the actions and commitments we, as representatives of the private sector and public sector, can make. Firstly, the private sector is a cornerstone of nation building. You are not just contributors to the economy, but are key players in shaping the overall well-being of our society. It is our duty to actively participate in initiatives that contribute to the betterment of our nation. Keeping our city clean is not only a civic duty, but a moral obligation we owe to our fellow citizens. As businesses, let us adopt the areas surrounding our establishment. Let us take pride in keeping the drains and sidewalks beautiful and presentable. This not only enhances the aesthetics of our business environment, but also contributes to the overall cleanliness and appeal of the city. Waste reduction is another area where private sector can play a pivotal role. Effectively managing our daily waste and collaborating with the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation can significantly contribute to safeguarding our environment. This collaboration ensures that waste is disposed of responsibly, minimizing its impact on our surroundings. Moreover, Creating a positive public image and fostering outreach activities can lead to a change in our customer base. When the private sector takes a stance on environmental responsibility, it influences consumer behavior. And so let us be the catalyst for change and inspire our customers to adopt eco-friendly practices that aid in our pursuit. Central to today's discussion is the importance of recycling. Recycling is not just a buzzword. It is a practical solution to reduce the burden on our landfills, conserve resources, and mitigate the impact of pollution on our marine ecosystems. Government has recently made a groundbreaking commitment to establish the world's first sperm whale reserve. The success of this initiative hinges upon the collective actions of all individuals, both on land and at sea. Let us actively participate and promote recycling initiatives both within our businesses and in the communities that we serve. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, as we engage in the discussions here today, let us commit ourselves to tangible actions that will contribute to a cleaner, greener, more sustainable future for Roseau, our communities, and our nations. By working together, we can make a lasting impact on the environment and on our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kira-Paul. We appreciate. Small announcement. If anyone in here is Mr. Shillingford, Veron Shillingford, you are blocking traffic. PY 660. Okay. Moving right along, and at this moment, we will call on none other than the Honorable Minister of Environment, Mr. Cozier Fetcher. Honorable Cozier Fetcher.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I would like to first acknowledge Dr. Kira-Paul, PS at the Ministry, Mr. Floria, yes, Manager of the Solid Waste Management Corporation, staff at the Ministry of Environment, Hunter, especially various stakeholders here. I think more importantly though, the students who are here, who are the real touch holders of what we're going to do moving forward. The media, ladies and gentlemen, I have a few people online also. I'd like to shout them out and happy that they could be part of this conversation. We have in our space, our white criminal space, an island that has been attributed to be the nation island in the Caribbean. Maybe the world, I suspect. And by its very nature, by its very geological construct and its geographical location, it's an ice space that brings forth the true nature in ourselves. And added to this is the people who are engaged in that space. And so I'm happy to represent the Ministry of Environment here, and the people, the industry who came first, and people of African descent who actually helped this country become what it is. Beyond the nature and beyond aspects of nature, we have a critical role to play as citizens of this wonderful space. And that's why I'm happy to have this conversation with us today. Because all of us are engaged in various ways in keeping our nature intact. And so for us at the at Solid Waste Management Corporation and at the ministry, we realize that public engagement is important. It's very, very important because lack of information have not done any country well. And lack of access to that information can only help us to become better at what we're doing. And so over the years at the corporation, we realized that the public has been engaged at various levels. And within the constructs of various conventions, UNFCCC, for instance, we realized that more than ever we have to have the private sector and young people engaged. There are a number of things that we as a government have a commitment to do, and as a corporation, but we realize that we need partnerships moving forward. And we realize that we have been dealt a strange hand. Our history is one that tells of struggles over a various period of time. But we realize also that as developing countries in the Caribbean, coming from an agrarian state, the causes of colonization, the destruction of our natural resources, that we are in a position in 2024 to continue to do things ourselves. And that is the critical point I want to leave with you this morning, that we have to be part and parcel of the solution. We happen to be in a space that, for the most part, there are a lot of complaints about situations, but I believe that we have the solutions, and we have to play our part in ensuring that we do that. And so, the manager spoke earlier about the importance of sort of the regional action plan and how do we treat our situations. We're so happy to be one of only 2 OECS countries that do have the recycling project. And in the waste action plan, I found that we realized that every year over 275,000 tons of waste end up in the Caribbean, dumped in our waterways. 270,000 tons. The impact of waste pollution is relevant, of course, to our island nations because we depend on coastal marine resources, and because we are continuing to struggle to adapt to change. And so we must recognize that that all of those habits are human habits, and we sometimes take off our human activities from the conversation, but it's very, very important. So for instance, when one creates an atmosphere of celebration, and you create an event, and you plug in some system, and you provide beverages, and at the end of this event, there's waste. And how do we manage it after this event? And so we are going to the carnival season, for instance, and it is on all of us as people in the private sector, people in businesses, to ensure that when the festivities are over, that we play our part to ensure that the waste that we produce during those activities can be managed in a sustainable way. And we should not be shouting from not even shouting, we're hiding behind our phones and computers and asking what this solid is doing. When you know clearly that there are a number of people who did those situations that we have to deal with. So this is the conversation that we have to be honest with ourselves. I speak as a minister, and I'm taking a very tough approach this year. I must say that very candidly. There are entities within transcribing the laws of Dominica that have responsibilities, and I would expect them to take on their rules more than ever. There are a vast array of legislation that exists, and enforcement of that legislation has to be done. And so at the Ministry of Environment, I will champion that cause to ensure that the enforcement of this legislation takes place. I'm a politician, that's what I do, but I don't mind, because in the realm I'm in, I can take some blows. And I think the laws that are on the books on our island has to be enforced. And there are very clear laws that exist for solid waste management. Very, very clear. And there are very clear agencies that are transcribing that law that has to be engaged in that thing moving forward. So I just want to say to you that we're happy to have this conversation because you have a serious part to play as young people. I see students from grammar school, that's my school, the greatest of all builders. Working with mighty hands. I also see students from Wesley High School. And sometimes, for the most times, we say the youth is the future. I don't think so. They are now. And that's why as Solid Waste Management Corporation, we have them here to be part of the bigger conversation. Because and I want you students to engage the older folks who are here. Because generations after you will blame you for what you have not done. In the very same way we blame others who came before us. And so the government has done a number of things. So the manager spoke about the one-use plastic intervention. So we have done that. And there are many other parts of the legislation we are going to enforce. Because if you realize across the board that there's some parts of the legislation that are, for want of a better term, a bit archaic. They are older. We have to fix it up. But we also have to enforce it. And so we are doing all of this. We just came out of the UNFCCC COP in the Middle East last year. I think it was the first time that the Solidists went to such an intervention. And we see so many things across the world that people to manage. But we realize that something is lacking in that equation. And because all of these interventions cost some money. And so within the cost of our convention this year, we want to engage the public in how do you play a part in providing resources, just like what the OECS is doing as a regional agency. How do we, as the man in Sally there, the lady in Water, the woman in Paybush, how do you play a part to ensure that the trucks continue to roam through your communities? Because these are expensive ventures. It's expensive to operate a waste management corporation. Yeah. And everyone complains, where's the truck? What's happening? I don't. But no one is saying, have I put something in? Have I put a $5 in? Have I come to the Solidarity Corporation and say, what can I do to assist? And so we have to be real in this conversation. And it's important to look at how do we, as citizens of a country, contribute to make the initial conversation and Asia Island intact. And so this is what I want us to keep in mind, that we have a part to play. And yes, there are UN resolutions, yes, there's UNFCCC, yes, there's all of these interventions by the OECS. But I also believe that it has to be, the onus has to be on us as citizens to play our part. And one of the issues we have to deal with is how do we finance these very expensive ventures? Because I know when most of us travel, or most of us have friends and family overseas, they speak to the way the solid waste is managed. People pay through various utilities. People walk their dog and they pick up the poop on the streets. People don't throw things out the windows. So all of those are part of things that we see in first world countries, but I think we could do it here. And with positive partnerships like what we're doing now, with that engagement, we can build that sort of consciousness within our country. We started a project in the Carnival space a few months ago called the Carnival Zero Waste Project. Zero waste, what it really means is that we need to separate our garbage from the source. Let's imagine an attendant on a garbage truck, coming through a community, pulling up a garbage bin, and in that bin there is chicken waste from 3 or 4 days. There's a stench, there's vegetables, there's grass, leaves, and plastic bottles, and all sorts of stuff in that container. Just imagine. So if you imagine that we could separate at the source, it would make it much easier for the recycling component of our engagement to roll out. So it is simple things like that. And then you might say, oh, well, it's easier for us, we don't have bags for this, we do that. But these are some of the things we do, because we do have the resources even at our homes. The bags from the supermarkets, and how do we do all of that? And so the separation of source is a key thing. I mean, we are pushing forward. We're happy for the support from the OECS, but it's also important that as a country we do those things. And so I need to say that we sort of need to evoke a national consciousness. And we also have to evoke a sort of a cleansing spirit too. Because we saw Hurricane Maria, and nature just fixed itself, by itself. The trees go back, the rivers go back into their course. But then, and for some time in that interim, people were working together. But at a certain point, everything seemed to come back to normal, and we seem to go on have our normal business. So nature can take care of itself. Now I think it's time for us as citizens of our country to play our part to help that entire movement. So I really want to shout out and to commend the work at the Service Corporation. Very good work. It's very hard work. It's work that is discounted from the conversation. We only speak about it, for instance, when the city appear to be an overload of non-collection of waste material, but we don't applaud the wonderful work when it's done properly. I think the onus is on us as the private sector, as the schools, to speak about this. And I know that the separation of the garbage can start at schools. It can start at homes. And what is our commitment as business owners with our packaging? When for example, you walk through the town of Roseau, which I did a couple of days ago, why is it that there's much packaging material not on the streets? Look at the events over the weekend, pageantry and all this happening. What happens after these things end? So we all have a part to play, and all of this is important because we have to tie it in with the replanting of trees. It's very, very important for soil erosion, etc. It's also important for maintaining the aesthetics of our country, of our city, and so all of us have to play a part. And it is important that we do this because the government will do its piece by law, but we also have a part to play as citizens. And so I'm hoping that this conversation will be very fruitful and is one that will continue. It can't be a one-time conversation. We sort of have, what do you call it in local partners, a too short, too flam sort of mentality. When something is relevant or it's an international topic, we jump on board, but I think we need to do more. We need to do more to ensure that the nature island will be got through the struggles of death and blood and bloodshed, that we're able to keep it intact for our future generations. And so all of the entities over here, I say Coca-Cola is here, fast food, we have Belfast, we have Digicel here. All of you are key players. All of you have platforms that you could use to push the agenda. And I know you're here because you want to be part of it. So I am almost preaching to the converted already, if you want to say that way. But I know that you have partners that you also need to engage. And because some of you represent international or agencies, and I think it's important that we do this for the integrity of our country, and we do it for the others who will come after, to ensure that we continue to have a wonderful and important country. We just off our shores here, we see the cruise ships are here. They've been able to come back in after the COVID interruption, and these people bring some revenue to our space, but also we have to create that space that continues to bring more of those sort of individuals. And I know that in so doing we have to continue to engage everyone across the Dominican landscape. So friends, brothers and sisters, comrades, I really want to thank you for being here. I also want to thank the media over here. This is important. It can't be just shooting a picture of the minister and stuff and that's it. We have to create a big story. The people here in media have not only look for the little things that seems strange and sensational, but big ups events like this. That event should today, I would want to say should be in the news for the rest of the week, the rest of the month. But this is serious work. Because and I'm talking to the media right now, because these folks out of the public sector and here and the private sector and the schools, they're taking time off. They say this is money, I suspect somehow you're losing to be here. And so that by your presence and your engagement here, you'll make an investment in the entire movement, and the media have to capture it and run with it and create that narrative for us. Because I suspect we can be a very sensational population for the wrong reasons. I would like to just say that I'm happy to be here. And the Ministry of Environment is open. We're on the first floor of our headquarters. Financial Center, sorry. I have an open door policy, and you can come in anytime with any ideas. I don't think there's anything that we cannot discuss. And it's important that we continue this engagement and to really empower the Solid Waste Management Corporation to continue to do what it is mandated by law, but also to add to our civic responsibility as citizens of Waitukubuli. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for this presentation. And even as the Minister said, sorting at source is important. And let me just tell you a little bit more why it is important. When you sort at source, that means you're separating your recyclables. Your plastic bottles, glass bottles, and tin cans do not go in your general waste. So that's already out of your general waste. When you take your composting materials, your food peelings, your vegetable peelings, your provision peelings, your eggshells, your wasted food, and you put it for composting, imagine you can now leave your general waste at your home for a whole month without a stench. No maggots, no roaches, you can actually leave your general waste. So then we will not have to be complaining that the truck will pass or garbage isn't picked up and the truck just passed on the road smelling. We can eliminate all of that if we sort at source effectively. At this time, we would like to introduce Mr. Miss Valentine Lambert of Surico Unite Caribbean to present to us, and she will be via Zoom.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, yes, I'm Valentine Lambert here with my colleague Raphael Verdugo. We are part of the consultant team working on the Recycle OSCS project that was launched in January 2023. We're also working with the consultant team of Unite Caribbean, of which Mr. Ronald Roach is a part of. Mr. Verdugo and I are part of Surica, which is a consulting company based in France, and we are working on waste, water, and energy projects. And so I will share now my screen. I cannot share my screen. It says the host has deactivated the... I cannot share my screen. Okay, so I cannot share my screen apparently, so I will just present the slides I already.
Please try again to share your screen.
Okay. Yes, I can. Thank you. Okay. So Mr. Mitchell already presented the 5 pillars that we developed with the OSCS Commission and the Dominican Solid Waste Corporation, as well as other OSCS member states. So, as he already presented, those 5 pillars are complementary, and as they are all equal in importance, financing mechanism is a very central pillar, as is linked to all the other one, especially technical and economical. So in Dominica, technical pillar to implement recycling operation is already almost decided, as the island and the corporation implemented the separation at the source of packaging waste. And so right now we are in the process of evaluating the cost of these recycling activities as for current activities and future activities, as the corporation intends to develop these activities as discussed before. And the key is that the cost evaluation of the system is the input for the financial pillar, where the goal is to prepare a suite of financing mechanism to achieve financial sustainability of the system. And so, as you can imagine, the cost of recycling activities is high, as we already mentioned. The collection is the most important part of the cost of this activity, as packaging waste density is very low, and without compaction, the cost is increased. Also, the processing of waste that will be performed at the Foncol landfill by the corporation, meaning post-sorting of the waste, processing as a shredding, baling, and then transport activities is also part of the equation. And so all of these operations need to be, the cost need to be covered by different suite of financial mechanism. And for this part, which is the most important, we really need to keep in mind the polluter pays principle, of course, that I'm sure you heard about, and to define governance of this financial system in order to cover the cost of the system. Do you want to add something, Raphael?
No, it's everyone is here yet. Yes.
Yes.
In a nutshell, solid waste management, all in all, has a cost and needs to be financed. And there are different solutions to collect money and finance solid waste management as a whole. And plastic waste management also has a cost, so needs also a way to collect money or needs someone to pay for plastic waste management, since the selling of recyclable does not allow to pay for the overall value chain upfront. So, and basically what is applied in Europe is what is called the polluter pays principle, meaning citizens are paying for solid waste management, hotels, restaurants, they are paying for their solid waste to be collected by the corporation. Industries are paying for collecting or for sending their waste to a proper site. And in the same way, developing a selective collection outsource of plastics will require additional financing, and the polluter pays principle in our countries consists in having the private sector putting some plastics in the market, participating in the financing of the overall value chain of plastic waste management. So it's a key pillar to achieve sustainability, keeping in mind that solid waste management has a cost, and that cost needs to be covered by a proper financing solution and system. Subject we are discussing and investigating together with the Dominican Solid Waste Corporation and also the Dominica ministries and people involved in that.
And as example, in general, when we're talking about financing mechanism, we can have these examples we can discuss. So, as already mentioned by Mr. Michel, EPR system with his advantages and disadvantages, environmental levy on plastic packaging, which is already applied in Dominica, service fee paid by households and commercial entities, maybe also a way to finance the system. As we also mentioned, the sales of recyclables, but as mentioned, the sale of recyclables cannot alone cover the cost of recycling activities, as the market is very fluctuant. and the cost of shipping is very high at the moment. You can also, the DRS system can also be discussed as well as a surplus on the visitor tax, and government consolidated fund is also a way to finance the system. The current financing mechanism of the corporation relies mostly on government fund and visitor tax, if I'm correct. And the idea of today's session is to have an open discussion with the private stakeholder on the financial pillar of recycling activities of the corporation. So I think we can open the discussion right now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Valentine. And to continue this discussion, and this is where we now move to our open discussion forum. And to do that, we call on Mr. Mitchell to guide the process.
Good day, everybody. Creole, morning, la Jean cherche. So, we're just having an open discussion on the concept of financial mechanism. And having heard the minister spoke, I think he spoke eloquently today. As always, he didn't take too much of minus, which was very, very good. No, it shows that he has a great comprehension for what is at stake. That's for me saying that you don't necessarily have to follow the script, but the things that he states with and being the Minister of Environment, that he could articulate the vision that he has for the issue. So that was very, very, very nice. Okay, so finance. As the Minister mentioned, the issue of waste management is a costly venture. It's a costly venture. And we would like to basically engage our stakeholders in terms of what do you think of an APM system. I know some of you may be aware of the environmental service charge that is applied upon imported goods, but when we speak to EPR, there are other mechanisms that could be looked into to improve on the system. So we basically just want to hear your take on it. Do you think a deposit refund system could work? Let's say, for example, you're a beverage company, the state, there's a 1.5% imported. What are your take on that? Do you think we should put it to 2.5? Do you think that if we are invoking a recycling component within your industry, that the government should consider remitting some of that money back to you if you were to engage a recycler to collect your packaging material from the state? So those are the kind of conversation we want to have. We know it may be troublesome to discuss those mechanisms, but the issue of pollution from a packaging standpoint, as the Minister mentioned, we are seeing your logos on the products on the street. And in the discussion, we need to consider how, through a financial mechanism, we could allow you to help us remove that material from the street. And one of the things that we saw that was very successful in Dominica, at one time, I think it was Cooley, or even the glass, you get a 25 cents if you were to return that packaging material. And do you think that that model could be extended or should be extended for plastic and other such material within our waste stream? The floor is yours.
Anybody wants to say? We have 3 mics on the floor.
That you didn't understand, to ask for more clarification. When you are EPR, do you really understand what it means? When you have polluter-based principle, do you understand what it means? So if you want some more clarity, please feel free to ask. We have our technical consultants online, and we have Mr. Mitchell here who can clarify. It's really good that we have the students here today, because this is the ongoing global conversation As a small island developing state, that really depends on its natural resources. That's all we have. We have our tourism, we have our agriculture, we have our coastal resources. You know, you as a student, you studying, what does this whole conversation have to do with, you know, your natural sciences? So we need to get to Oklahoma with all these issues. Yes? Issues? Okay, this one is not working. So does anybody have any comment? Any question?
Yes, good morning. First and foremost, let me just thank the Dominicans for the Louis for inviting me to this very important forum. I must say, this is very, not only timely, but also very important for Dominican development and our economy. As Mr. Mitchell rightly said, you know, there is some serious need for some, you know, on-the-ground programs to try to see how we can really clean up our environment. And just for choice of words, please forgive me, but I would rather use the word butter wrap, as Mr. Mitchell described. It is a cool. I think that program worked very well. And our streets were almost litter free from bottles. I think we need to get back to this kind of activities. We need to extend it, as Mr. Mitchell said, to plastics. So probably, you know, there needs to be some kind of incentive out there. It could be per weight, that, you know, when people bring in the plastics, it's weighed, and then there's some form of compensation, just like we did back in the days when we break up a bottle. I think it should be extended to the law that it is compulsory that, you know, some funds, some money is allocated, not only for the breakable bottles, because right now for our streets, every litter with their bottles, all of the bottles. So if we can, you know, go back to this kind of program and extend it to all plastics and all recyclable product, I think it worked in the past. I think that would. I think that is the way that we should go. As I'm on the floor, I would also like to take the opportunity to just speak a little more on the separation from the home, separation of our garbage. I think it's a good idea, but we need to take it and run with it. It's not just talking about it here and think it's a done deal. We need to put some more activities into play to ensure that it reaches the home and people actually know what they need to do, and we can see it actually manifesting itself. Because, for example, if you recall, I represent Dominic, and during the boat shedding, we also created people who work on social media. I think it's an opportunity. We can use social media and have some programs, some kind of promotion, some kind of competition, where people can use social media and say, how can I separate my garbage from home? I think that's a very cheap way to go, a very effective way. We can also have schools competition and all other competitions so that we could demonstrate and carry that PR and awareness session to the homes and ensure that it gets into our people. So it's not just talking about it, but there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done on the activities that Mr. Michel has outlined. So at that point, I would just like to say thanks for the opportunity.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Defoe one question. Brandon. So you said somebody should be, right? Now who should be? The question is, who should be?
Well, we need to lead from the front, and we have to realize where the mandate starts.
Is it the state? Is it the importer?
The mandate has to start from the policy level. And if the policy is right, and it is supported, and therefore it becomes easier downstream for solid waste and even for the stakeholders and at the home. So it is not something like we can leave it all to the homeowners. No, as the last end. And this is not the area we need to really focus on. We need to focus at the top, from the policy level downstream, to ensure that our visions are seen to our objective and our activities, and the activities are supported. Because if they are not supported, then we're wasting our time.
All right, noted.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share. My name is Natasha Yoelabad of All Source Development. I am here in my capacity as a technical support person for CARICHAM, which is the regional network of Caribbean Chambers of Commerce. So technically speaking, I work for Mr. John Baptist, who is the executive director of the Dominica Chamber. I just wanted to touch on the area of action and continue on from Mr. Mitchell's question. Who should take on that mandate? So my question would have been, how can we facilitate greater public-private partnerships? And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Solid Waste on one, being part of a regional project, Green Actions Blue Oceans, but also for today's activity, which has not only invited the public and private sector players, but also other players like the students. So my recommendations in terms of how do we drive forward with opportunities for finding the finance. I think the private sector wants to be able to find value that really helps to spur their actions. Students and teachers want to be able to engage in a way that is meaningful. From the Caribbean Chambers of Commerce, I do know that there is increased focus in terms of policy, and one of the ways that we have facilitated access to finance is to provide support for policy development. What that would mean is that those policies would lead to greater public-private sector partnership. So in the case of Dominica and its involvement in these Green Actions Blue Oceans, public-private partnership would look like students coming up with environmental clubs and deciding that they will take action to get the bottles off the street. Once they take it to solid waste, they could put a dollar value on that could potentially be matched by the private sector. And that matching could potentially lead to regional support so that that value could result in maybe a school adopting a truck or a community adopting a truck. So, I mean, this forum does not allow for the building up of a wild idea, but I would like to perhaps maybe beyond this speak to how we can perhaps maybe get some funding support from the network through the Pros USA project, which would love to support activities like this that results in the schools. So the head girls that are seeking re-election, I suspect some of you who are here are either head girls or potential head girls. We would like to see you, when you go, not just pitch free days, but pitch activities that would help you build your knowledge, result in greater SBA scores, but also impact your communities. And I'd like to see how we can bridge the gap. So thank you.
And to just respond to the latter part of what you just said, the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation has indeed started the initiative and the journey that you spoke about, and that is why we have partnered with the National Director of Primary and Secondary School 4-H clubs, and we have the director in the building, Mr. Bert Paul, and we have the 4-H club from grammar school, the environmental club from grammar school, the environmental club and 4-H club from Wesley High School, and the 4-H club from the Trafalgar Primary School, and they're here represented because we are now partnering with all the environmental clubs and 4-H clubs of all our schools here in Dominica.
Just in addition to, we look forward to your comments and we shall take it up. It's a very lovely suggestion. In my view of things, there is no such thing as a dumb suggestion. You see something according to your purview and we can tweak it and make it work, but I really enjoy the concept of incentivizing the project. And that is what we are discussing, the whole issue of financing. But before it slipped me, what we have noticed, right, in the Caribbean visit, we have a lot of institutions, but we have not seen a lot of allocations or avenues that will foster businesses within the landscape of recycling. And sometimes to access to cash or money to start up a business. So this is another area that we probably want to consider. If we have, I saw Ms. Maureen, right? She represents the National Bank. I'm not too sure there are other financial institutions there, but those are some of the areas. National Bank, NCCU, okay, good. So we need to consider those elements. So if we are going to have that level of innovation, we need to make monies available at almost 0% to all local manufacturers and even to our business sector that would foster the whole recycling component. So those are elements we also need to consider when we're thinking of financing mechanisms. Not just the state imposing levy, but making monies available to the local public. And as the young lady said, in terms of research and innovation, can we make a grant available at the secondary school level for innovative project where recycling or other forms of environmental management is concerned? So those are the kind of conversations we need to have where financing is concerned. And probably through, how do you call this? Intellectual property, probably the bank could capture that, make the money back through that mechanism, so you give it to them upfront at 0% or grant. But where intellectual property is concerned, the bank could hold 50% of that technology through development and the owner hold 50%. So if it provides, if it's that fruitful, the monies could be recovered in another avenue. So monies can be recovered in other elements and we need to pay particular attention to that. Yeah, our friend from WePlanet.
Good day, everyone. I'm Christiana Paul, co-founder and director of WePlanet. Solid waste may be familiar with us, and I see some of our partners here too. But those who don't know, WePlanet is a non-profit social enterprise that's raising eco-consciousness amongst Caribbean individuals, Dominicans, through innovative incentive-based solutions. And one of those solutions is actually our WePlanet app. And while we're having these conversations, the WePlanet app comes to mind because we currently have an active solution that could probably solve some of the points being raised in terms of rewarding people for being eco-friendly. We understand not everybody cares about the environment, but we also know Caribbean people like nice things. So in terms of creating rewards for people to do eco-friendly actions like sorting out source, shopping with their reusable bag, purchasing eco-friendly products, we actually decided to create an app that does just that. And so we have one of our partners, Whitchurch. So let's say, for example, you shop with your reusable bag at Whitchurch, you earn what we call eco points. So we essentially taken the loyalty type program mechanism to fit just doing eco-friendly actions. So every time you earn an eco point, you get entered into a quarterly raffle. So we already have a system in place that rewards people year-round for being eco-friendly and even taking part in eco actions as well as challenges when it comes to students, the whole environmental clubs, the whole zero waste activity I know Solid Waste has planned. It's a way of essentially making being eco-friendly accessible, easy to understand, and if you don't care, it starts with building the habits. You may start for just getting the rewards, but over time with our WePlanet app, you will build a habit because we understand that the heart of everything we're trying to do is people. And we have to really be realistic and practical about how we're reaching people. And one of the ways we can reach people is through getting them with the whole, we want money, we want rewards, we want shopping vouchers. So with the WePlanet app, if you want to check it out, it's WePlanet.app, free to use, free to access. As well as I know there's many potential, not sponsors, collaborators and partners in the building. because our model relies, just like solid waste, on everyone, the private sector, the public sector, in being part of what we're trying to do. And I think it's awesome that we're having this conversation. I want to thank Solid Waste for providing these opportunities and projects as such, and to continue to make way for innovation. And as you can see, the young people who have solutions to quite a bit of the problems that we discussed. So it's a matter of collaboration, partnership, reaching out. Some things are out there, you just have to be able to reach out to the young people, creating opportunities and just making it that way for us to present the solutions that we may have. So I want to thank everyone for being here, thank the Solid Waste, and looking at what We Planet can bring, I can definitely see us partnering with quite a bit of the initiatives that are being planned or maybe is in your head, because we're not just limited to the app. What we can do and the scope of what we do is quite wide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, so we saw what you just did there, and we'll send you a bill in the mail for the free plug for We Planet. Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Prevo and then Vicky.
Good morning, my name is Vanessa Prevo. I'm representing the Prevo Cinnamon, and we're also a member of the DHTA. This is a wonderful forum, like the opportunity to be able to express my support for this initiative. I would agree with reinstating the 25 cents per bottle, maybe more like dollar per bottle, but whatever price it is. But I remember growing up, you will never put away a bottle in the bin, never. Because you will pick up that money and get your $6 no matter what. And also it encouraged those persons who walk around the city to pick up bottles after events. And these guys would get plenty money because a whole shopping trolley would be full of bottles. So I think that would definitely be the way to go. Also things like weighing the plastics, weighing the paper, weighing the tin. I remember growing up, going to the country, Marigot, you would never throw pig tins. My grandmother, she used to collect all the milk tins and the sardine tins. She would put holes in it so mosquitoes couldn't collect and put it in a big crocus bag. You would never throw a tin. I don't know what happened to it then because I can't remember. But it was not in the environment, that was for sure. So having this kind of initiative for metal, tin, paper, plastics would be wonderful to reinstate that. I would also want to encourage, when we go to the market, everything is sold in a plastic bag. You can hardly even get a basket to carry your stuff. I think the mic is going. You can hardly get a basket to carry your stuff, and they don't have the reusable bags available. And people like me who always go to the market and always forget the basket, even if I don't want to take the plastic bag, I have nothing to put it in. So it would be one of the things to, everywhere you have to purchase, have the reusable bags available. I notice it's only in the largest supermarkets where you can buy your bag for $3 or $4. Some of these smaller supermarkets, no matter what, it's a plastic bag. So these are some of the ways to reduce the waste in the first place, so that you can, you know what I'm talking about. But some of us never remember our bag, and we have a big collection of bags at home, but we will still buy another one when we forget it. So you don't know what I'm talking about, right? The separation of the rubbish at home is it would be wonderful to initiate that. I do that with my own plastic and my bottles. Ask Mr. Mitchell, and I bring them to the solid waste because the truck never comes by me. But after a month, I just collect it and I bring it. So, but I am more proactive that way. Not everybody who has a vehicle. So it is one thing to separate the waste, but it's to have a system. If you know every first Monday they come in to pick up, that is wonderful. Because when you go to the States, you know it's once a month they pick up green waste, once a month is plastic, once a month is whatever. So it's to have this system in place to pick up after the separation. The other thing would be the training in the composting and the separation is important because a lot of people just think you just put a plastic, you have to rinse it out first. Okay, you don't just put it in the collection container, you have to rinse it out, all the containers, so as not to breed the rodents and those kind of things. And in relation to the private sector support of this, there's already an environmental levy, 1.5%, am I correct? I think that's supposed to be channeled to the correct place. I don't know where it's being channeled now, but that is already there. And then having available, for example, solid waste sells the green bins, but you should also be selling the different color-coded bins for separation. I have been trying to find these online, and you cannot get something which is aesthetically pleasing to put inside your building. So it doesn't look horrible, but it looks very neat and tidy. So you can put your bottles, your bins, your whatever, and so on. So that would be good if you could sell those things at a reasonable, subsidized rate. Then also we do have litter laws in place. So it would be very good if litter wardens were, more litter wardens, and let them do their job. Let them do their job. Also, it's very difficult to put something in a bin if there's no bin in the city. Okay, we do have some, but they're falling apart. The pyros spend a lot of time emptying them on our behalf. So they maybe need to be a different design that they cannot dip their hand in it and to be locked. So once you put something in it, it is only solid waste and NEP that can unlock it and take it out. That would help as well. And then these bins have to be either bigger or emptied more regularly. I don't want to say every day, but more regularly, because we know the situation already. So I think I have plenty of other points, but Mr. Mitchell, you know the business already. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Grego. So you will mention Little Wallet, so we'll have Mickey, Mr. Morrow, Grace Suzanne, and then next is Lady at the back.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Japan. I want to say something before Mr. Japan is speaking. I want to say something with this.
Good morning. Yeah, Vanessa, I taken up some of your comments, but I would like to endorse the young lady that talks about eco-friendly. I love eco-friendly, and I love for Dominica. One of the things we spoke about is about the bottles refundable, and it helps. But what I realized as a litter warden and a person that love cleanliness, the covers, before they used to have games on the covers, and then you could bring in the covers, because the covers, you're getting a lot of the covers in the drains. Because, and I don't want to hit Kubuli. When Kubuli has their promotions and another thing, these guys, people buy free, 3 for 10 and these things, and they sit outside the building and they flick the bottle covers into the road, into the drains. I've been observing that a lot, and then I know for a fact before people used to even take Clorox bottles, cut them, the business people, and uncover the bottle, let the covers fall immediately. You don't have that anymore. All bars you go around, people where have 3 for 10, whether it's Kari, Kubuli or whatever, people all on the streets drinking and they just flicking the bottles, covers all over the place. I mean, in my area I'm getting that stuff, yeah? For the fast foods, KFC, I mean, everywhere you go you see KFC boxes. The idea of taking the boxes, well, weighing it is a good idea of let people bring them in and wait or something. That would be a good idea because it's not bottles you can come like that. You know, you fellas will look for the crushed ones and bring it to. So, you know, you get the KFC initiative where people bring in the boxes, you know. Because even when you go to the promenade, KFC is right there, beans are there, and you get the KFC boxes all over the place. I want to remind people that I'm a litter warden. I don't love giving tickets because the initiatives like this, we like to sensitize people, we like to train people because people have bad habits from their home. Some people just don't get proper training. That's it. It's just like the throw things, yeah?
That's true.
But one of the problems we are having is that people that give in, as you mentioned, Paro and those people, things to go and throw for them. And sometimes we have days to put out your garbage at a time, and people are giving them the truck pass on Monday by midday they're giving the parents to put it out, and then the truck is passing on Wednesday again. So it's all over the place. For a matter of fact, while we were coming here, next to Domlek, I was just mad about some garbage I saw right in the corner there, and I'm scrutinizing it, and I'm trying to see what restaurant that around there I want to give a ticket. All right then. So I must say thank you very much, everybody, and then I should talk about lead order, tell the people and then respect the law.
Okay, thanks Mr. Mora for your uncandid comments, but the issue of pollution is not that only of the company. I do not want to say this is the fault or Tropica's fault. We as citizens need to be mindful that our practice is what is in question.
Yes.
And also the private sector need to understand that communication is very important in informing our public. So when we say finger licking good, we should say drop it in a bin after. You know, so it's not just we consume, but how do we dispose after we consume? So we need to make those kinds of connection in our messaging. I saw the lady with the yellow shirt, and then John Baptist, but let me just say one thing about John Baptist before I forget. So we are here, and everybody's happy, saw this, but we had a function sometime last year, and we had the AIC and some other partners, and he made mention of something in passing while we were having a discussion about some kind of breakfast, something, and we just seasoned that. And we said, okay, we should set up a breakfast, get all the stakeholders together. So it's not just so we set up a breakfast forum, but we will have a discussion. The AIC was present, and Mr. John Baptist in this conversation did mention some breakfast, and we just seasoned. So when I said any communication in my mind is a communication that we could work and improve upon. So I wanted to give those things before it's So we'll take John Baptist and then the lady at the back in the yellow.
Good morning, everyone. Kevin John Baptist here, Executive Director for the Dominic Association of Industry and Commerce. And firstly, I'd really like to thank Solid Waste Management for really bringing us all here today. We know that networking activities like this really brings ideas together and really brings the heads together, so you get to see who is behind the companies and who we need to talk to about certain initiatives. Back in meetings that we had, I remember Ms. St. John said a statement to us, let's make garbage sexy. And as much as it was somewhat funny at the time, it really played on my mind leaving the meeting. What did she mean by making garbage sexy? Let's talk about that. You know, in my mind, I'm battling and going back and forth. And she also added to that we speak about garbage men as the people who collect the garbage, but we don't realize the garbage men really are those who create the garbage, which is all of us. All of us play a major part in creating garbage. And it brings up the main action where sorting at source comes in. And we need to look at this not just as a private sector, but also in the residential area. We need to find or create an action that allows sorting at source easier. So we know that, yes, you go to, for example, Fresh Market, and you purchase, and you know when you finish by your groceries, you probably have 100 bags. But the spacing for residential may not have that space to accommodate having several disposable options. So that is something that we need to start taking a look at on a community level, on a business level. How are we going to create a better sorting and source system for business? And I think it also comes in, after we decide to sit and collaborate and come up with the action plan, we then need to look at the marketing or the awareness campaign of this. I'm not saying that this is a solid waste issue. I think it's an all of us issue that we need to really develop an effective marketing campaign or an awareness campaign. and really target that point about sorting and source. How can we? And it comes back again to another point, I think that throughout the city, that we as the private sector, we really need to sit down with the solid waste movement and look at how we can invest in, I know Ms. Prevo said it a while ago, the bins. We need to create a color-coded bin system, an effective bin also. I appreciate the bin, the recent bin that was brought on, but I will say that it wasn't as effective as persons may think it would have been. But we need to sit down and put together or create a proper action when it comes to the bin system, whether it be orange for recyclables or green for recyclable, and for the other bottle system or other waste. And every corner, or let's say every business, should have some sort of a bin allocated along their route. So when you're along the route of Roseville, you should be able to find garbage, a bin that you can use. Because one of the issues is, that persons want to litter. Sometimes it's difficult, or you don't know where to put your garbage. Okay, so sometimes that is the problem. So if we can target some of the issues that we have, I think that we can combat and fix this entire waste management.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, if I can just say that I will ask Valentine and Raphael, if they're still online, if we can pull up that slide on the pillars so that the room our memories can be refreshed about the considerations and the financing options that are available, which you can moderate that conversation, because we all the points are very relevant, but we very focused on the technical pillar. And I think there's the expertise in the country to address that with support. And that support has to do with regulation, the laws that need to be changed, laws for perhaps manufacturers, for importers, and all of that. I don't know how many of you order things online. So we're busy in this room, they're talking about bottles. This is how much plastic comes into the country every time you order things from Shein and Temu. And so there's a whole nother problem coming into the country. So if we have the freedom to go online and order things that come in plastic packaging, what mechanisms are in place for us to pay something towards mitigating the obvious fallout from that in terms of the buildup of plastics in the environment, okay? So let's pull up that pillar, and Mr. Mitchell and Valentine and Raphael can sort of talk about some of the options and the financing mechanisms. Valentine, are you still online?
Yes.
Okay. Perhaps we can just go through, the financing mechanisms again, so the room can hear and people can ask questions if they're not clear on certain things.
Sure. The first one we can talk about is the one Mr. Mitchell also presented, is EPR system, where basically the importers and company manufacturing plastic, putting plastic on the market, participate upfront to the recycling activities of the product they put on the market. So the participation could be based on volumes or units placed on the market, and can function as a taxes fee, and it basically subsidizes the cost of collection and processing of plastic, and this system is right now one of the most used in European countries, some of the US states, some of Canada-friendly provinces too, and of course in European countries it's a very large system with dedicated companies created to handle the fund to cover the cost of the recycling activities, and for Dominica it could be customized to the need of the island. And yes, this is a discussion to have for this financing mechanism. Another one which could be described as similar is the environmental levy on plastic packaging. Function more as is similar to a VAT collection and is currently implemented, but is not currently used, if I'm not wrong, only for the waste management activities. But please, Mr. Mitchell, correct me if I'm wrong. But also for other environmental operation. Service fees, as you can imagine, is basically a tax on the waste management services that the corporation is currently doing. So current collection of municipal waste, current collection of packaging waste, and future operation of packaging waste could be covered partly by implementing service fees to be paid by household and commercial entities. So you have already service fees implemented in Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where it's linked or bundled to electricity or water or utility bills. So that's one of the mechanisms. Of course, sale of recyclables is not really a mechanism, but it's after processing your plastic waste, the main objective is to sell it to recycling facilities, and as we mentioned, the revenues generated by the sale will be lower than the cost of collecting, processing, transporting, shipping the plastic waste to the recycling facility, but it's still non-negligible. The DRS system is more of incentive mechanism also for the population, depending on the type of system you implement, but it for sure is an incentive for population to recover back the deposits that is put on the packaging. Visitor tax in Dominica is already partly used to finance waste management operation, but it could be discussed to have a surplus on this visitor tax. It's already implemented today, and the government consolidated fund, is already a mean of financing part of the corporation operations, and big part actually of the operation, and should be still part of the equation. So I don't know if Mr. Mitchell wants to comment on some of those mechanisms.
I just wanted to give the lady with the yellow shirt another day to speak before I forget, and then I will make brief comments on financial mechanism. Knowing that we cannot solve the issue in one go, but after she speaks, I'll give a few comments on probably next steps or how we could approach the whole concept of financial mechanism in dealing with the issue of plastic and plastic pollution in the city.
Thank you for remembering me. And thanks for this forum. My name is Terry, the owner of Be Natural, where we make natural products which are value added from the beehive. So the entire business is geared towards sustainability, and we're very passionate about it. The goal actually of my business is to be plastic free. And so we're really looking at not just thinking of the end of recycling, but all the reducing, reuse, repurpose before we get to that recycle point, and looking at how we can utilize more eco-friendly packaging. The issue is cost, always, as a small business, as a micro business, and I think I can actually represent many other small businesses that I interact with, is the high cost of alternatives to plastic. Like for instance, I have lip balms. These are cents to buy. I do provide an eco-friendly alternative, which is cardboard, and it's dollars to buy. And then, you really have to do a lot of work to educate your consumer of buying the more eco-friendly one, even though it's going to cost them. So it would be great to have some way that, okay, if you're paying a little bit more of an environmental service charge for the plastic, then give us some concessions on the things that are not plastic. But even with just any kind of packaging has its implications. We also use glass, we use aluminum. While they may be seen as somewhat more eco-friendly, they still going to be disposed somewhere. So we need to figure out how we can reuse our glass and how we can reuse our aluminum. For a small business, we have to look at sanitary practices, how we can sterilize something to be adequately reused. That's something that we may have to look at. Also, our deodorant. I'll do a plug, Be Natural deodorant, they're the best. But it hurts me that they're in plastic, right? I mean, I'm an environmentalist from birth, I think. So it's been a project of mine to make them into a refillable tube and have a one-time plastic case and then a biodegradable pod that you buy your deodorants in and you constantly refill. That's a project that I've been proposing and seeking funding on for quite some time. I've been investing a lot of my business money into doing that. It's just very challenging, and you find that as a small business, you are doing that from love, not from economics. And so a lot of people will not do that. So we have to think of how it can be more economically viable for small businesses to use alternatives to plastic, and then even those alternatives, how are we disposing of them? It would be great to see more private sector collaboration. I am a member of the AIC, so I will be tapping on Korean's shoulder to have some follow-up for small businesses and the private sector to figure out how we can collaborate to, bring in less of the plastics, but also how we get rid of everything else. But thank you for this forum, and look forward to seeing more being done.
Thank you. We have a student and somebody from the church. And then I will seek to try to wrap up in 2 minutes after.
Good morning to all.
Good morning.
My name is Francine Remy, and I am a football student of the Dominica Grammar School and also a member of the 4-H Club. On the behalf of my school, myself, and those of us there with us today, we would like to say thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and how happy we are to be a part of this initiative with our solid waste. I already see that my school is doing sort from the source, so when we go back to our school, we will definitely be pitching this idea to our principal. Funding will be an issue, so we will look forward to the businesses who will be partnering with us. Thank you.
I have something personal to say about Miss Remy as well. And Richard, probably my wrap up in the next 3 minutes if I have to add Miss Remy comments. Richard.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Joseph, representing HHB with Church and Company Limited. By extension, our sister companies, Millennium Fruit Services and Brown Handlers Limited. I couldn't sit quiet when I heard about the return of the bottles. It's something that we actually practice, that if you return your empty bottles, you'll be paid $6. And it's something that we export and it's recycled. So that's one way that we play our part in reducing waste. But as a member of the private sector, we also have to remember that there are many ways and opportunities that we can play our part in the reduction of waste and in turn protecting our environment. So some practices that we have implemented as a company, that we don't want to hold the information to ourselves. We believe that in order to protect Dominica or rock surrounded by water, we need to share these ideas, and whoever wants to implement them, you're encouraged to do so. So in 2019, on April 1st, 2019, it was no April Fool's joke when we started to charge for plastic bags. And it's 2021, we still charge 25 cents per plastic bag to deter you from using plastic bags. Bring your bags or else you have to pay for that. And also, if you return, I said return your bottles, but if you bring your own bowl for lunch at our deli, your own packaging, you will save 25 cents as well. So, you know, I mean, they seem small, but 25 cents, they add up, they buy bread, they buy a cup of flour. Sorry. Right, so we want to engage other private sector entities, and we want to say that it is proper business ethics. It's not just about following legislation, but it's about protecting your environment. Your environment consists of your consumers. You want to practice self-help practices. So by reducing the use of, I can't remember what it started with. Polymers. Right. I mean, if you look at the rise of cancer, etc., these things, we need to take a closer look. So 25 cents, it seems small, but I want you all to think about it, that it will be beneficial to all of us in the long run.
Good morning, my name is Quincy Ango. I'm an engineer at Dowasco, and I'm also a member of the Roseau City Council. Just to pull from some of my past experiences and travels, I traveled to Japan for training from the Japan International Cooperative Agency, and just a few things I can tell you, like, let's say 2014 was the World Cup in Brazil, when the Japanese team, even after they lost their game, they cleaned the stadium, they stayed back and cleaned the stadium, and that is something that has to do with culture. So we have spoken about policies, financing, all these things, but we have to talk about culture. So if we have students here today, and we can implement that in the education system from a young age, and we push our children. I've seen videos online where teachers come to the class and they dirty the class, they throw down the chairs and they just make a mess. And when the children come, before they start the class, the children automatically run and they put everything in place. So that is a thing that the Japanese people have instilled in their youth. So we can look at that for our future, because the children and the future, we keep saying that we're not doing anything to instill into them. Because my grandmother used to say, things you learn the first 7 years of your life. If you teach a child to make their bed every day for the first 7 years of their life, they'll continue. So is this kind of thing we have to implement. Another thing, it's tax season just open. So I would like to see that when I pay my local government and I pay my fees for my land use, I want to see, like, he pay all his taxes on time, he pay all his fees to solid waste, and that during tax season I can get a write-off on that. So that is a way you can incentivize people to do that. Thank you.
Okay, so let's conclude our session on financial mechanism. We appreciate all the areas raised. Some of them was more flamboyant than others. But the issue of financial mechanism is always a trickish area of discussion. And in member states, what may apply in Grenada might not necessarily apply in Dominica, but we need to be very creative. We recognize the need for innovation in that sector. But one thing that stood out, the refund deposit system would fine on the glass, why can't we not apply that to plastics? And I think if we had something that works, you just improve upon it. Not necessarily try to reinvent the wheel, but to improve upon. And we are so happy for your support and for your considerations. We know some of you all may have further dialogue and discuss with you, as or the gentleman did mention. I think those are avenues that you could explore. Pay your taxes. Probably some concession could be when you're filing your returns, you get a rebate because you pay your taxes. And the young lady from BHC made mention of the whole concept of the refill. Again, those are elements in the LBI. And you made mention of financing. I also made mention of our local finances. So we need to have those kinds of connections to help improve small businesses and how we could improve on our discharge in improving waste management, plastic pollution, and all those items. I will not go too much into insurance again, but I know her dad and I know her granddad. Abraham, right? So one of the things I would have loved to see at the Waste Management Corporation is probably have a dedicated activity for former staff. Sometimes our area is not a sexy area, and I always try to tell people I want to make waste management sexy. If it's a sexy lady, everybody, you know. And so one of the things we wanted to do is basically have a scholarship program so we could award students or staff. And Miss Remy, her granddad worked with us, her dad is working with us. And she's just speaking on environmental preservation. So we can see there's a natural progression in that family in wanting to preserve our environment. So we want to commend them on all their support. And to our friend at Richards, we would certainly want to dialogue with you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would say though, if we're collecting 25 cents, we should put it back into the public domain. So I know Mr. Ed very well, so we'll have discussions on some of the areas that we could, and our friend from the IC made mention about the systems that we want to put, improve on the visual, the bins. Again, those things, it costs money. And the bins that we have in town, and again, another time, the OECS Urban project, we sorely need to improve. But when we improve the bins, we saw that the public is abusing the bins. So some of the bins that we put, they are already in the drain. So we need to appreciate, and as our friend from Alaska said, we need to rethink, we need to retrain, and we need to inculcate in the minds of not just the young, the older generation, that whatever we are doing is for the betterment of our country. It's gem beyond compare, Dominica. So again, thanks for your interventions, and we conclude our discussion for now on financial mechanism until we have a word on a few and your institutions. Thank you very much.
Okay, and this part of our session is the reality of what you have just said to us that we already envisioned and took action to. So at this time, we would like to call the Honorable Minister of Environment to come up, please, where businesses, Solid Waste Management Corporation, and you on your own have started and is doing recycling. And we would like to thank you, award you from the OECS Recycling Demonstration Project. We would like to say a tangible thank you that everybody can now walk into your company and see that you are a partner to recycling. We would like to call on Ms. Josie from WeChurch, who is doing recycling, and this is a certificate on behalf of Recycle OECS. That's good. We call Mr. Laville, who will take it on behalf of the big W. Belfast Estate is doing a phenomenal job in bottles. that they are also recycling and even shipping back out for reuse. Belfast Estate. Trading International Group. Thank you so much for practicing recycling as an agency and a company here in Dominica. Fine Foods Inc. And they're one of the companies that do cardboard recycling in a big way here in Dominica. And once I call on Domlec has actually taken recycling to another level with us at the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, where their staff is now going to participate in recycling by bringing their plastic bottles, glass bottles, and to their offices, and we as a corporation will collect it from them. Thank you, Domlec. Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited. Thank you very much for being one of our recycling partners. We appreciate it. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you. And to also seal off that the partners here today it's not just talk for the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation. However, we want to show the connection between the solid waste, our businesses, our partners, and the schools. So today, we have already taken where some of the schools, the environmental clubs, as we said, their 4-H clubs, are going to be working with solid waste. Now, we cannot do everything. We just spoke on finance mechanism. The schools, if we're going to push proper waste management, sorting at source, and a recycling program, we need to start with the generation that will make the change. Because you know us, our mindset, our head, but the younger generation, some of us, the younger generation can then definitely run with the program. And we want to thank these businesses for adopting these clubs at the schools, and for the year 2024, they are going to work with the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, where the environmental clubs will work on behalf of the company, and the company will then invest in the students to run environmental programs. So at this moment, we call on the National Ozone Unit, and they have adopted the Dominica Grammar School. Please come, students. Wait 1 second, my apologies. PS. The students of the Dominica Grammar School, could you please come forward? Belfast Estate. We want to give Belfast Estate their certificate. We do apologize that the school isn't here today, but they've adopted the Maho Primary School in the 4-H club. Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, and we do have the Trafalgar Primary School in the building. Please come forward. Students are coming. Okay, Mr. George from Archipelago, could you kindly come, please? represents a series of, he works with a series of companies, and we would like to say that the Beacon Insurance Limited has adopted a Wesley High School, which is from Paul. And just so you know that Archipelago Wines and Spirits has adopted a Portsmouth Secondary Environmental Club. So we are still looking for companies and businesses. There's many more schools that needs adopting. So please call us. Let us know what primary school or what high school that you want to adopt. We greatly, greatly appreciate the partnership with you. And at this moment, I would like to call on the teacher for the grammar school environment and 4-H club. Please do tell us. We would like you to tell us, how is this partnership between the business and your club going to benefit your club?
Good morning, everyone. Well, at our school, this term, we decided that we're going to do a project where we're going to use plastic bottles to enhance the environment. So we have a number of different things that we're going to do. But the main one is where we take the big Coca-Cola bottles, and we're going to use moss rose. We've ordered the plants already, so our partners will refund us that money. And then we're going to form like patches and beautiful things. I think and we'll be selling them, so then we'll be able to make a little money for the club. And we look forward to decreasing plastics in our environment.
Good morning, everybody. I am Shirley Joseph, and recycling plastic is not something new for the Dominica Grammar School. We have taken part in projects where we actually built boats, workable fishing boats, and we did that with, I remember, the youth division. We came in second. We didn't win, but we came in second. In the race, our boat floated. So plastic bottle is not something new. If you visit our school, you'll also see that we did a fencing decoration where we used the soft drink bottles to write and pass on messages. Reduce, reuse, recycle is something that we promote all the time, and it is there clear on the fencing bottle, so it's not something new. So we felt very honored that solid waste management saw that our 4-H club and our environmental club was worthy of these sponsorships, and we are going to make good use of the money. Thank you very much.
Okay, some of the initiatives that will take place between the Dominica Solid Waste, the business, and the schools is to be able to run environmental projects. There will be competition between the schools. There will be different projects that the school will run. We have Clean a Mile, which is our annual event coming up on the 8th of June. So there's a lot of different projects and possibilities. Yes, our tree planting project that we're going to be doing. So there's a lot of initiatives that the Dominica Solid Waste Management will be taking in terms of reducing, stopping plastic pollution, and recycling. Sorting at source is key, and this is one of the educational drives that we will be pushing through the clubs, sorting at source. At this moment, we call on PS to give us a few overall words today.
Thank you, Ms. Angel, and let me just use this opportunity to reiterate what she highlighted, that today's discussion is really a start in the right direction in terms of discussing how we can further protect our environment by reducing polymers in our environment. We've seen the different areas where this has come to play in our landscape through the sales, through the importation, through the packaging of our local products. And I think this discussion here today, this development agenda where we are managing solid waste by reducing plastic in our environment is an opportunity that the private sector can lead. I think the public sector, we have a critical role to play in terms of setting the policy framework, the policy, the legislative and regulatory agenda. But in terms of the actions that will really impact on the environment, I think the private sector, there's an opportunity for you to lead in that respect, but more so because there's business opportunities that presents itself by addressing some of the challenges that we face. So yes, I am very supportive and also very appreciative of the contribution of the private sector in supporting the schools. But there's quite a bit more work that has to be done, particularly at the community level, and we are appealing to you for your support. Those of you who've initiated your own actions, kudos to you. You can also bring along another business while you do so, just as Woodchurch appealed. But I think there's quite more work that we have to do, even while we seek to strengthen the legislative and regulatory framework. So thank you for your discussions here today, and I'm certain that they will form part of the transformative work and the journey that we have started here in the Ministry of Environment. Thanks.
And let me just take this opportunity to remind all our media personnel of this evening's event, to the media managers mixer this evening. And please do remember the debate within the Dominica State College and Academics is tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 at UE Auditorium. I now call on Ms. Daisy to give us the vote of thanks.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, Management of Staff of Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, and to thank the OECS, Surica, United Caribbean, and the EU for having faith in the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation and placing such an initiative in the hands of the corporation. The corporation will make you very proud, and as we have started, to make Dominica the #1 climate resilient nation, and definitely a model for the rest of the Caribbean to follow. To the Honorable Minister of Rural Modernization, Climate Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, Honorable Kosia Frederick, thank you for supporting this venture and giving all your initiatives that the corporation has embarked on. Your continuous support to the service management, see you championing Dominica to become a zero waste country, leading the way for others to follow. The Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kira Paul, the Parliamentary Representative of Roseau, thank you for being here and seeing the value in this initiative and addressing us all. Your support means so much to the initiative of the business which allocated in your jurisdiction. Your words today speak volume. To our manager, Mr. Florian Mitchell, you had a long vision for the Solid Waste Corporation in regards to the need to recycle. Not only benefits to the corporation, but to Dominica as a whole. You have seen, we have seen your hand and your work in your determination because you did not give up. Your vision was realized and is becoming a reality. To the Ministry of Education and Environment, thank you for seeing the role you can play in helping Dominica to move into zero waste, climate resilient country. By allowing the program into schools, we see a bright future in proper waste management and how garbage is handled and treated. To businesses who have partnered with us to champion the need to recycle and to sort out source, welcome to the recycling family. The Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation surely can do this alone, and with your involvement and support, this initiative will reach its full potential as we'll be able to have a great model for the rest of the Caribbean to follow. So the media house is present. Thank you for affording us the opportunity to have this discussion about various platforms to reach people anywhere they may have been. We do need you, to echo this initiative. or present in person or virtual. Thank you for being here. Your voicing your opinions and suggestions. Together we can change things for the better. We can change our disposal habits. We can stop our waste and reduce the smell. We can save our wearing space. We can become a climate resilient, zero waste country. We can rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we say goodbye and thanks for viewing.
We're dismissed. Let's mingle. Please network and talk.
And then we saw 3 other companies that have been recognized for their partnership with the Dominican Solid Waste Corporation, and that was Ruby's Caribbean, Springfield Trading, and Argos Dominica Limited. So they also have a recycling program, and they were not there to receive their certificates today. So with that, everyone, we say goodbye and thanks for viewing. And remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Goodbye, everyone.